Everyone, Chris at Lamin-x. On this light, you can see that we had some difficulty with the installation. You see some bubbles all over the place. You see some folds and wrinkles, or sometimes they're called fingers, on this light. And this isn't because of the Lamin-x itself, but rather it was the installation technique that didn't allow for this to be a successful installation. However, today I'm going to show you how to install Lamin-x to have a successful installation on a light that has a convex or complex shape to it. In this case, this light actually has two curves to it, one going this way and another one going this way. So it's kind of like a dome shape or a convex shape to it. So there is a specific technique to how to install your Lamin-x onto this light to have a perfect and successful installation. And I'm going to show you how. To start, we're actually going to do a universal sheet installation on here. So we're going to measure the light to determine what size universal sheet that we need. So I have a tailor's tape, where the tailor's tape is great to measure around the curve to give us an accurate measurement. You can use a ruler as long as you're able to bend it around that curve to actually give you a better, more precise measurement on it. So in this case, I'm going at the widest point, and which happens to be at the bottom. So it's about 15 inches, but I'm going to give myself a good ½ an inch on each side for handling and using your fingertips. So I want at least a 16-inch width sheet of Lamin-x. As for the height, I'm doing the same thing, kind of going around the widest point and going around that bend and curve, taking that in consideration of how much of a curvature there is. I'm at about 9½ inches. In this case, when you look on the Lamin-x on our website on the universal sheet, you'll find the most applicable size to be a good 12-inch by 16-inch sheet. And that's what we're going to use today, is a 12-inch tall by 16-inch wide sheet, universal sheet of Lamin-x. To begin our installation, we're going to take the provided sprayer that comes in your installation kit, and we're going to fill it with filtered or distilled water. And we're going to spray the outside of the light with the mist sprayer to kind of give it a nice wet layer. It doesn't have to be soaking wet so that it's dripping, but rather that it's nice and moist. And then we're going to spray our clean fingertips. And this going to help, having your fingertips wet helps prevent to have any fingerprints marring the adhesive. Next, we're going to take our Lamin-x and we're going to pull the liner off of the back of the Lamin-x. Be careful that the Lamin-x doesn't stick upon itself or fold or creases or wrinkles onto itself. Now I'm going to lay the light down, and now we're just going to take the Lamin-x and we're just going to lightly just lie it down. All right, now that I see I'm off a little bit here as overhanging, but that's okay. I'm going to lift up the Lamin-x and I'm just going to apply it back down again to make sure it's aligned correctly. And there we go. So the Lamin-x is just lightly applied, and it's overlapping the edges of the light. Now I'm going to take the same mist sprayer. I'm going to spray the outside of the Lamin-x. And this is going to give us a lubrication layer as we're squeegeeing and applying the Lamin-x down. It helps to prevent scratches and helps to prevent sticking. So this light kind of curves in both directions, so we're actually going to start right smack dab in the center. And I'm going to just take our squeegee that's provided in the installation kit. I'm going to start in the center, and I'm actually going to use a nice firm pressure. And I'm just going to start working my way outwards towards the edge of the light. And it's going to start off generally pretty easy, but we're going to make sure that we're trying to keep all the moisture out from underneath the light. And if the Lamin-x is sticking on the outside part as you're trying to push it, just lift it up as you're trying to apply outwards. And that's all I'm going to do here is actually I'm going to work my way slowly but surely all the way around in every direction. I'm not going to go in one direction here, then go to this direction. I'm actually going to evenly distribute the Lamin-x, working my way around in a circle, basically, working my way towards the outside edge, all the way around the light, evenly distributing the Lamin-x. All right, so now I applied it down, and I noticed it made it difficult to see on the camera, but I have a little water pocket that got stuck in here. I'm just going to pull the Lamin-x back up. It's extremely forgiving. We have a lot of thickness, a very thick adhesive, so it allows us to pull this back up and reapply it again dozens of times so you get it just right. So I pulled it back up past that water bubble, and I'm just reapplying it back down. Again, I'm using nice firm strokes with the squeegee. If I have a little area that bunched up, I'm just going to reapply it back down and distribute it out. Also, we are doing this inside the Lamin-x plant, and it's about 72 degrees inside of here, which is a nice perfect temperature where the film doesn't get too soft and it doesn't get too stiff. So we're able to actually apply this without using any heat. If it does get a little bit colder, like 50, 60 degrees, you can use a blow dryer and actually just kind of soften the Lamin-x. You don't want to get too hot so that it actually kind of can potentially melt. So just you can make it nice and soft. You have a cold environment. But today, we're just going to install it inside without using any blow dryer heat. I'm pulling it back up because I had a little spot that pinched together there. I'm just reapplying it down and using firm pressure. And honestly, I'm just working my way little by little, bit by bit, about 1/4 of an inch at a time, working my way out. And I'm using a full squeegee here, and I'm kind of try to generally put all 4 fingers across the entire squeegee, so I'm distributing all that firm pressure across it equally. And the squeegee is soft, so it actually can bend and fold around that light. So now I'm getting around to kind of the top part here where it actually is a bit more of a curvature, so it's a little more difficult. So any of these areas that may bunch up in a particular spot, I'm going to use this corner of the squeegee, and I'm really just going to kind of press it down little by little, bit by bit, instead of a broad motion, and be a little bit more targeted. Anytime you see these folds, you kind of want to push that little wrinkle fold and distribute it out. So you kind of use the edge of the squeegee to push it down to kind of force it to spread out as you're working your way towards the edge. And if you feel like you missed a spot, a big air pocket, air bubble, or they're pinching or wrinkling on you, just pull it back up and reapply it again. That's where the moisture is kind of helpful, where it's not too saturated, where the adhesive is not bonding, but it's also just enough to let any air pockets to actually evaporate out. And I'm just kind of pushing the Lamin-x all the way down the edge. I have a tiny little water pocket, and I'll just pull it back up, reapply it again. I kind of bend it around the sides for right now, because we're actually, the next step is we're actually going to trim the Lamin-x using the provided trim tool in the Lamin-x kit. Okay, now the Lamin-x is applied down pretty much to the edge around the entire light. And now we're going to trim the fit. In your Lamin-x kit, you have a trim tool, which has a snap blade in here, that very sharp snap blade. And you can press it, you push it out to about 1/2 inch, and then you have the locking mechanism to actually lock it. And you're going to use this sharp blade to actually trim the Lamin-x to fit the shape of the light. If you already have used this blade before and you need another sharp edge, it's actually a breakaway blade. So you can kind of pull it back, and you can see a little piece, about 1/4 of an inch wide, and you can take the end off, and it has a little groove, and you're able to actually put the blade in that groove and snap and pull away that blade, and now you have a new sharp edge on there. So now we have a sharp edge, and we're actually going to trim the Lamin-x to fit the shape of the light. So now I'm just going to use the edge of the light as a guide, but I'm only going to do kind of a light to medium pressure. I'm not going to cut all of the way through the Lamin-x. I'm actually just kind of going to score the outside layer of it. And taking my time, going slow, making sure I'm at the edge of the light, not in too far and not out too far. And about a good 30-degree angle, 30 to 45-degree angle as I go along the edge of the light here. Again, it's just a light to medium pressure. I'm not cutting all the way through the Lamin-x. Just kind of scoring the outside layer. But then when I get past the light, then that's when I cut all the way through the Lamin-x. And that gives me a starting point to peel away the excess. And you can wrap the Lamin-x around the edge of the light too to help to give you a better visual about where the edge of the light is. And there you go. The Lamin-x is installed onto this light with a convex shape to it. As you can see, it bends and molds around this way and also molds around this way. If you have any water pockets, small water pockets, or air pockets, or any other areas that actually in the middle that looks unsightly, you can take either the edge of your trim tool, you can make a little incision on it, or you can also use a sewing needle and pop it and evacuate the moisture or air out. Lamin-x is self-healing, so give it some sunlight and some heat and it will actually heal back up over time. And again, even if you don't want to do that with the releasing of the air or releasing of it with an incision, it will breathe out. It's also breathable and porous. So over time, over a good week or so out in sunlight, it would actually evaporate out, and then the Lamin-x will bond in the curia to the light, and any of those imperfections will disappear over time. Sometimes after a period of 24 hours, when you actually have some really bunched up areas, they may get a little fold, a little wrinkle. And I'm going to demonstrate, kind of create one for you, and kind of show you what it looks like, and then I'll give you a technique actually how to fix that. And what you want to do, if that shows up after about 24 hours, you're going to need to fix that fold or wrinkle prior to driving. Otherwise, some dirt and debris will get up in there and then it will have difficulty getting it applied down. So in this case, we actually have a fold or a wrinkle that kind of bends up like that. That's called a tension point. When you're squeegeeing, you might have pushed on this side and this side and actually caused the film to bunch up in a corner. So what we're going to do is once you see that, you're going to take the sprayer, moist your fingers, okay? And you're actually going to lift it up and spread that tension point over a wider area. And then you just use your fingertip, kind of use a wiper motion, and you're going to redistribute that one tension point over a bunch of smaller points, over a smaller tension area. And that's going to help keep that Lamin-x applied down over time, because now that instead of that one tension point is in one little spot, it's distributed less tension over numerous areas, and it helps for the adhesive to actually bond down and keep it down on you. So there you go. There's a smoked taillight installation on this light with a convex shape. Despite what you saw in the first part of the video with that installation difficulty, here's the technique to actually install your Lamin-x. Start in the center of that curve and work your way outwards. If you have a solid dome-shaped light, you can actually install kind of in a circular motion and working your way outwards towards the outside of the light. But you're just starting in the center and distributing that Lamin-x over a wider area. And that helps to have you have a successful installation. I hope this helps. If you have any questions or any additional problems with an installation like this, give us a call, email us at help@laminx.com, or hit us up on live chat. Thanks and have a great day. Take care.